What's up? All right, we're just getting started. Yeah, so thanks for your patience. Um, oh, hey, Nicholas, good to see you, man. As usual, it's morning for me in this case, but doing terrific. Yeah, thank you for joining me. I wanted to. There's a lot of good stuff here to cover today, so I was just. I had to switch links. Oh, hey, Peter, buddy. Good to see you. And Nicholas, by the way, Peter is living here in Hue City as well. And yeah, a terrific fella. And so perhaps Peter can give some good info on this as well. But yeah, before I go too far, Nicholas, would you have any direct questions or anything like that? I do have an agenda of some topics I want to cover, of course. But yes, if you had any questions off the bat, feel free to fire away. Again, we're kind of talking about money and currencies and how that works, cost of living, how to make money, how to save money, comparisons between cities, yeah, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, feel free to, again, fire away if you would like. Almost done. Just sending a couple, a couple other quick things. Do, do, do. Mm, mm. All right, almost there. All right, terrific. But yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I know you, Peter, have a handful of what do we call it? A handful of experiences while living here. But would you have any questions directly or anything like that? I know we're just chilling here for the first few minutes until there's a few other folks that are going to be joining us online here shortly. So that'll work. Normally this stretches an hour or two, so you know how that goes. Beer time. Every morning's a good morning. So yeah, I'm going to give it just a few more minutes here. Just going to give it a few more minutes here until the ball gets rolling, and then I'll get to the meat and potatoes, you know, of things. So let's see, almost there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thanks for your patience. Again, fire away any questions in the meantime if you would like, or any specific things. Mm, uh, all right, cool. Yeah, the one minor thing is that recording live streams got a little trickier. Got a little bit trickier here recently because they're not able to use the phone like usual. So that means that there's a few extra steps involved, which is totally fine. All right, Rosa's joining us. That'll be terrific. And I'll see if my lovely wife can join us as well. Hmm. Hmm. Great. We'll have that going. All right. All right. All right. Excellent question there, Nicholas. All right. You guys both have some great questions. All right. Well, let's go there right now, okay? Because that's actually the most important question, you know, is moving money from overseas to here. Now, it does differ from place to place. Now, and I only have personal experience going from America to here. I have heard of a handful of other ways of going about it. Now, we'll start with you, Nicholas, because it's the most relevant. Yeah, having a means of moving it, there's a few main ways of going about it. The shittiest way of doing it would be like Western Union, you know, mostly because you need someone on both sides of the transaction in order to make it happen. Now, the way that I do it, to kind of skip to the end, is that I actually use Wells Fargo in the United States, because they are able to initiate a transfer from Wells Fargo to effectively any bank, here in Vietnam. And they're able to do said transfers, and it costs about $8, and they can do up to $3,000, which is kind of nice. So obviously we do it in big chunks, at a time. So that works out quite well. Now, the next best way of doing it is, yes, doing ATM withdrawals. In other words, if you have a Charles Schwab account, okay, and I'll write this. I think it's spelled this way. Yep, Charles Schwab is the best international bank, ATM setup, mostly because they have no ATM fees. In fact, if a local ATM were to charge you a fee, they'll actually reimburse you, set amount. To give you an idea, a lot of ATMs here can range anywhere, and correct me where I'm wrong, Peter, it can range anywhere from 20,000 dong, which would be about $1, up to 70,000 dong, which is about $3 per withdrawal. Now, that's on the ATM side of things. Furthermore, the many local banks, for example, Wells Fargo, will charge you a currency exchange fee of certain kind, and will ding you a little bit on the exchange rate, meaning dollars to dong, because you're going to be withdrawing in dong after all. So not only would you have the local ATM fee, then you get foreign transaction fee, then you get dinged on the exchange rate. Then Wells Fargo will charge an extra $5 just because it's international, just because. So by the time you're done, you're talking about like 9% to 11% of your money is just gone, just in fees, just to withdraw it. On top of that, you have an issue of maximum withdrawal, what do you call it, ceilings, and so that makes things a little bit rough. In contrast with Charles Schwab, they're going to give you the spot rate and charge zero fees, international or otherwise. And then that 20 to 70,000 dong will actually get reimbursed to your account. So literally it's 0%. So the number one best way to do it is to have a Charles Schwab account. Then you don't even need a local Vietnamese bank account at that point. And you can just withdraw it little by little each time, and really no worries at all. So that's about as ideal as it gets, really. Now, what would be worth doing otherwise is speaking with your local bank, and just go in and tell them exactly what you're doing. There are ways of wiring money and so forth, yes. Now, the downside of wiring money in general is you need a person physically on both sides. Thank you, Peter. Yes, you're talking about ATM withdrawal limits. Now, there is a limit of how much money you can take at one transaction, but also your primary bank institution is going to have a daily withdrawal limit. I did want to point out, like Wells Fargo, for example, their default daily withdrawal limit is about $300. And now, obviously, that would include all the fees too. So let's say you withdraw $250 and then $50 of fees, or whatever the case is. However, you are able to call your financial institution, in my case, Wells Fargo, call them and say, hey, I'm going to be traveling abroad. I need a daily withdrawal limit of $1,500, let's just say. And they'll say, oh, you've been with us 10 years? All right, sounds good. Great, done. So yeah, be aware of that. And yes, you're right, Peter, that given that withdrawal limit, you're going to have to go to the ATM, withdraw 4 million, let's say, stand back, put your card back in, do it again, card back in, do it again, something along those lines. Again, wiring money, the way that I got it set up is I actually ended up having my wife now, Tan Lai, here in Vietnam. So I was actually able to effectively wire it. They call it international remittance from my Wells Fargo bank in the United States, and send a $500, let's just say, to Tan Lai's bank account, here in Vietnam. And from there, she's able to, sign for it and so forth. The first transaction took about 3 days, but the advantage is after that, after it's done once, then I'm able to do it online from anywhere in the world, and let alone on my phone. So I can just pull out my phone, move $1,000 to Tan Lai, blip, blip, and it gets moved in American dollars to American dollars, which is handy. So yeah, then it's going to have like a pickup code, so to speak. And she can walk right into the bank with the pickup code. Up, here's your money. And they hand it to her in cash and costs her nothing. Pretty sweet. From there, typically she'll convert the money and then put it right into the bank account. Yep. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, this, yes, almost every bank, as far as I know, is able to do a transfer here like this. And if not, get a different bank. I mean, this isn't very complicated of an ordeal. And Nicholas, you're not the only retired guy living overseas, not by a long shot, not by a long shot. So now, one other thing that I wanted to tell you, especially Nicholas, and other folks like yourself, is check out this Earth Class Mail. Earth Class Mail. Now, this is kind of expensive, but basically what it is a private mailbox that you have in the United States that effectively becomes your residential address, so to speak. In other words, all of your mail gets sent there, and Earth Class Mail people are able to open all letters on your behalf. Then they'll actually scan every letter and then send you an email. In the meantime, if you receive a paper check in the mail, they can either A, send you a picture of said check, or B, will deposit it in your bank account on your behalf. It is true that if you have a trusted individual in America, that they could sort of do all this for you. Sure. But it is troublesome. And at some fundamental point, you've really got to trust said person to handle every scrap of mail on your behalf. And it's doubtful they're going to be as diligent as a professional company in this case. Now, Earth Class Mail is a little bit expensive. It's about $600 a year, roughly. That's kind of that starting point. Might be a little more if you get a lot of mail. But for peace of mind, definitely worth it. The second best option is a UPS mailbox. And they also call it a PMB, personal mailbox. Now, this is same idea. They'll handle the mail on your behalf. Now, they're not going to open letters and scan them in this case, although they will forward it to wherever you are in the world, including here in Vietnam. So in that case, that's going to be a little less. It's about $100 a year, and they've got them in pretty much every major city. Yes, individuals in your family or other friends can pick up your mail on your behalf and then forward it to you, open the letters, deposit, if that's what you want to do. So it is slightly cheaper option to go about it that way, although it is mildly expensive to forward a big old box of mail from there to here. You got to really consider this because you're going to be receiving greater than 0 checks in the mail, generally speaking. Tax return, for example, probably going to be a check in the mail, among other things. So anyway, bear all that in mind. Now, I did want to also tell you with regards to moving money. My wedding, for example, I got a handful of checks from people, which was really nice, wedding gifts. Well, that's kind of tricky when I'm sitting here in Vietnam, but you may know already that most banks, including Wells Fargo, I'm able to actually take a picture of the check front and back, and then I input the amount that it is and so forth. And I can direct deposit a check just by taking a picture of it. Yes, this does work by getting an emailed photo of the check, and I take a picture of the computer screen. Sweet. Now, that doesn't solve the problem of moving money from America to here. All that solves is moving it from check form to your bank account. So, and that's really a good starting point. You know, having money in a paper check form is kind of useless. I mean, fundamentally, until it actually hits your bank account. So anyway, that's worth bearing in mind. Now, with regards to bank accounts in Vietnam, fun fact, you are able to actually have accounts in either American dollars or Vietnamese dong. So they do give you that option to have it in American dollars. And yes, you are able to set up a bank account here in Vietnam, having nothing but a tourist visa only. Just show up with your passport, and a valid visa, you're in. They want your business. It's cool. So that works out quite well. Now, speaking of, a lot of people here in Vietnam purposely switch all their money over to American dollars and keep it in their bank account in American dollars, which makes sense, in a lot of ways. And as mostly having to do with, of course, inflation. As you might expect, that's a bit of a factor. For example, the inflation can really range, but you can look up charts, but it can be anywhere from 5% up to like 13%. So it's quite substantial. Often, one's wages are commensurate with inflation, as you might expect. Now, what I was going to say as well is that to give you an idea, one case of beer 2 years ago was 140,000 dong. Now it is about 170,000 dong 2 years later. So it's not a ridiculous increase. Hey, Rose, good to see you, girl. Yeah, I need a crazy Irish woman every now and then. So, and forgive me, I'm just sending a quick invitation. Almost done. I'll be done in just a moment. But now, while we're on the topic of having different, currencies, what we really have to consider is change to, what do you reckon? Oh, TIMO? Well, there's a lot of, frankly, the differences between the companies aren't that big. It really isn't. I would recommend picking the most common bank that there is and just rocking out with that. And with that said, there's not a huge difference. The only minor things that I found is ability to have accounts in dollars. That would be a main one to check. And having a lot of ATMs of said bank near your residence. So in your case, there Rose being around Da Nang, look around. If they've got a TIMO, if they've got said bank, yeah, go right ahead and fire it up. Now, one other thing that's not normally on the pamphlet, I'm going to write it. This happens to be true here in Hue City. Sacom Bank is the only bank that happens to have security deposit boxes. Now, it sounds like a minor note, but I think it matters a lot. Yeah, in America, this is quite an ordeal, meaning a lot of folks have a security deposit box, but it's a little bit more rare out here. Obviously, once you've got that, then you're able to keep cash in there directly, which is extraordinarily handy. And for that matter, you can keep other necessary paperwork in there, and you can pretty much name it. For example, having the ID card for the registration card for your bike, put it in there. In our case, having we got a lot of gold at our wedding, during the gift as wedding gifts. Keeping that at our house, we can do it, but it's more of a peace of mind to know that it's in a bank security deposit box is way better than a drawer in our house guarded by a $5 lock on our door. Mostly because we're talking about like $5,000 worth of gold, let's just say. 2 years rent. Furthermore, having an external hard drive, that kind of thing, sitting in the security deposit box is a big thing. Almost every major city, including Da Nang there, if you were to type it in, would at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 banks are going to have that. And yes, I do think that that's a really big feature and really worth looking into. So now, the next big thing, since we're talking money and banks, gold stores, okay, and bang. Now, in Vietnam, in historically speaking, gold stores were the equivalent of a bank, so to speak. What that means is, out in the countryside, historically speaking, there's hardly any banks out there. So what people would do is actually take their cash, Vietnamese dong, of course, and then go to the gold store and actually buy gold, like a gold ring or a gold bullion cube or something like that, and then bring that home, bury it, hide it, put it under the bed, whatever the case is. And that effectively acted as a long-term savings account and ultimately a buffer against inflation. To give you a real-life example, my my father-in-law here in Vietnam, they wanted to build a church for the family. Now, they don't make enough money to do that all at once. In fact, they had to save up money over the course of, yep, you got it, Peter. They wanted to save up money over the course of 10 years. So they would sell a bunch of rice, take said cash, convert it to gold rings, and maybe once a year, everyone in the family would give one gold ring to the family on one big long string. And when they added up all the gold rings, let's say they have 30 of them, then they got enough money for to build the family church, something along those lines. So in effect, they were able to do savings without having to have the access to a bank, because that was impossible at that time. A lot of folks, for example, had no ID, or no formal registration of any kind. Right. Also, to give you an idea, back in the day, 10 dong, let's just say, could buy you a lot. Okay, for example, you could probably get a bowl of soup for 2 dong and a cup of coffee for 1 dong. Now, that's a far cry from right now, where a cheap cup of coffee is 5,000 dong and a cheap bowl of soup is 8,000 dong, right? So in other words, if you were to have cash and just keep the cash only, now it's toilet paper, really. You would need that same, to buy that same cup of coffee, you'd need a 2,500 times more expensive than it was, let's say 20 some years ago. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. And yes, by going to the gold stores, what's nice is they actually exchange every currency to every currency. So let me rephrase. They can go the most common currencies, including dollars, euros, of course, and neighboring currencies such as Thai baht, kip, and riel, from Cambodia and Laos, respectively. So that's pretty sweet. Now, in the meantime, their rates are actually better than that of a bank. To give you some real life numbers as an example for comparison. Oh, hey, Conan, good to see ya. Good to see ya. Yeah, exactly. Now, thankfully, Vietnam's not runaway like that. They're slightly more hedged and developed than that. But yeah, similar idea here in this case. But yeah, just to give you a real life example, like a bank just might give you something like this. In other words, you show up with $1, they'll give you 22,500. And a gold store will give you something along the lines of maybe like 23, or something like that. A gold store is always better. It's always better. I've never once ever seen a bank give a better rate than a gold store. Everyone just knows that. They just do, well, except for foreigners. But in the meantime, this is really slick. And by the way, there's almost never a line, so it's pretty much instant. They don't require any ID. Sweet. That means that you don't need to bring your passport. They don't register who you are. ... Show up, go, lay down the cash and go. Now, while we're on that topic, I did want to mention they, the Vietnamese people, and they, the gold store, and they, the bank, are really picky about foreign cash. Okay. For example, if you have a $20 bill that was printed from the 90s, meaning like a small face 20 instead of the big face 20, they just plain won't accept it. Period. If it's, especially if we're talking hundreds, they pretty much with hundreds, it's got to be a brand new 100 or nothing. If it has any tears in it, nope. If it's stamped in any way, the phone number stamped on it or anything like that, they won't take it. Pretty much. If it's really old and wrinkly, nope, they won't touch it. They will not touch it. And they're not being dicks about it. It's just we're not going to give you, 2 million dong or 2.3 million dong for a bill that we can't exchange and is worthless to us, obviously. So, given that, bear that in mind. If you do bring cash over in person from the United States to Vietnam, make sure, 100% sure, that it is the brand new bills. The brand new bills. Now, speaking of bringing cash from the United States to Vietnam, many of y'all might be familiar with this classic $10,000. Here's their wording. Okay, they use the word monetary instrument. In other words, whether you're bringing, Bitcoin, gold, or whatever, traveler's checks or whatever the hell. Over 10,000, you've got to declare it. Under 10,000, you don't have to. So in your case, I was going to mention, Nicholas, bringing $10,000, let's just say, in cash on your body as you go through the airport is not a bad idea to get you off the ground. Now, obviously, don't put it in your bag because bags get lost. Put it on your body, ideally touching your skin, ideally in a pouch underneath your clothing, that kind of thing. Now, are you able to bring more than $10,000? Of course you can. You could bring $30,000 in cash if you want to. And in that instance, if you were to bring $30,000, yes, declare it honestly. Tell them exactly how much you have. And then it would be great if you could have other justifications. For example, hey, I'm retired military and I'm moving to Vietnam long term. Here's my military papers. Here is a snapshot of my American bank account. Here is my last tax return. Let's just say I'm moving to Vietnam on purpose, and here's why. Here's where I got the money, and here's what I'm doing with it. Hey, the customs officials will be great with you. They're not going to take your money. In contrast, if you lie about it, now they're going to be like, why are you lying? What are you trying to escape? We're going to take all your money until we get this figured out. That's going to be tricky. So yes, you can bring cash more than 10,000 across the airport with impunity if you're honest about it. So that's cool. Ideally, again, if you have a Charles Schwab account, you won't have to do that anyway. So, next, again about the inflation aspect. It is true. If you were to compare, let's say, having how much stuff can you buy with 5,000 American dollars? How much stuff? If you were to compare how much stuff you could buy 10 years ago with $5,000 versus how much stuff you could buy right now for that same $5,000, it will be a little bit less now than it was then. A little bit, but it's pretty small. The difference is pretty small and not that big of a deal. So it is true that inflation does affect things, and it is true that in a long enough timeline, your overall purchasing power parity and your purchasing rate will go down over time. Again, to be real clear, what that means is, let's say 10 years ago, I could have rented this house for, let's say, $185, but now it's like, after 10 years, it's $210 or something like that. It's still ridiculously cheap, by all means, but it's not identical, obviously. Also, worth bearing in mind that the cost of housing varies radically. There's a lot of folks who live in Da Nang or Hoi An who insist that, oh my gosh, there was never houses that were $1,000 a month, but now there's tons of houses that are $1,000 a month. Yep. If you want to find a place for $3,000 a month here in Vietnam, you'll find it. If you want $1,000, you'll find it. But also $100 a month, it's tricky, but you'll find it. So there is a wide variety of, let's say, housing, options out here, highly dependent on what city you're living in and so forth. To wit, when it comes to cost of living and overall inflation, a lot of people tend to look at national numbers, which is by definition a national average of all basket of goods across the entire nation. And then they'll notice that that the price goes slightly up and whatever. So they infer that that's evenly distributed throughout the country. That is not true. For example, if, for that matter, in the United States, cost of living may increase faster in developing neighborhoods, whereas in Detroit, for example, the cost of living goes down. Whereas in North Dakota, during the oil boom, the cost of living goes up. The coast of California goes down during the housing recession. In Florida, housing dropped in half in some cases. It's not evenly distributed. Okay. Now, in certain cities, for example, Da Nang, oh yeah, it's very, very clearly has gone up a lot lately. In other words, if you were to look at cost of living on average in just the city of Da Nang only and nowhere else, you will notice a very radical spike increase, call it inflation, if you will, on overall cost of living in about every measurement. But that's to be expected. Supply demand, folks. In contrast, if we were to look at Hue City here, it doesn't change that much. It's not expanding at the same rate. So the idea of inflation really comes down to where you choose to live and where you choose to, let's say, buy property, etc. Speaking of, are any of you guys fire away questions if you'd want to know about buying property, investments? Yes, they do have a stock exchange out here for what it's worth, and yes, it is pretty awesome. Any other questions? Feel free to fire away. I'm just going to kind of tick down the list here. For example, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was going to mention, yeah, and thank you, Rose. It is somewhat expensive by comparison. Now, it's not nearly as expensive as Hanoi or Saigon. Obviously, let's acknowledge some obvious facts here. Okay, let's go with comparing cost of living in cities. Now, I did see a terrific video online, or on YouTube, I should say, from a gentleman that was kind enough to record him going apartment shopping in Hanoi. And he was actually showed a decent smattering, like five separate apartments that were worth checking out, including some with a dead rat outside, and cockroaches everywhere. Some with zero furniture, some with a balcony. ... Now, the best deal, to give you a comparison here, the best deal he was able to find was a rather nice apartment. No, it had no balcony, no rooftop, and it was a shared ordeal, which is to say it's a 2-bedroom, kind of place. And again, no balconies. It had a couple windows. Yes, your AC and furnished, stuff like that. Now, for this little place here, the size of my downstairs, it was 350 American dollars per month. Phew. And I looked at that, I'm like, oh, that is god awful expensive. I can't even imagine. You might as well be back in America at that point. Damn. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a decent benchmark, which is to say, a one-bedroom apartment in Hanoi is going to run you about $350 a month ish. You might get it for $3, probably will pay $4. But now to contrast that, coming here to Hue City, that's an astronomical amount of money, which is to say, for that same, let's say $300, oof, you could definitely get a place that, would be in the 200 square meters, or let's say 1,900 square feet, kind of world, like a full house, like 3 levels and a smile, As a matter of fact, we were just helping out Brother Peter here, getting a place arranged. And that is, I believe it's 3 big bedrooms, 2 stories, ridiculously huge balcony, like a church cathedral, in a really nice neighborhood, fully furnished, AC, TVs everywhere, full kitchen ready to rock, the whole shooting match, and that is $6 million for a decent place. And just to keep myself honest, I'm gonna do the conversion rates super fast. Oh, fun fact, we're sitting right here at around 23,255 these days. And anyway, all right, almost there. All right, almost there. Thank you for your patience. Just banging it out right now. If any of you guys have a quick answer, that'd be great. But this changes all the time, so we'll just no hurry, no worry. All right, 6. Almost there. All right. Okay, $260 a month. There we go. Roughly speaking, right, give or take $5 or something like that. So again, to have a big ass 3-bedroom house ready to go, as big as you need it to be reasonably, in Hue City, a huge one is $260. That's pretty standard out here. So yeah, this same house in that we would get in Hue City for $260 would be about $500 in Hanoi. It's a very safe assumption to say that it costs double in Hanoi versus living in Hue City. Now, since we're comparing, costs in between Hanoi and Hue, and this is just, we could pick any 2 cities, but these are the 2 that I have direct experience with. Okay. Okay. So our main ones are, one is going to be rent. And I'll say rent is about double. Okay. Simple. Next is going to be cost of food. Okay. And it really depends on what you want to eat. If you're in the expat neighborhood, if you want Western food and spaghetti, etc., or steak or whatever, versus you want to eat Vietnamese food. Obviously, Vietnamese food is going to be the cheapest by a long shot. So it's hard for me to peg meal to meal, and it's hard for me to predict exactly what your cost is going to be. However, to pick a couple of points, oh shoot, yeah, Peter, you found that banh mi, for example, out here, and this is a ridiculously great price, and it was like 5,000 to 6,000 for one banh mi sandwich. In Hanoi, yep, you're not going to find it. Yep, 6K. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you're not going to find them under 20,000. You will not find them under 20,000. No way. At a decent sized place, 40,000 is not unusual. So we could And to be fair, 5 or 6,000 is pretty low. You got to search for those kind of places, but it can be done. So yeah, and this is just one apples to apples comparison here in this case, but it's very safe assumption to say food costs double in Hanoi easily. Looking at a handful of other rates and options and things like that, I would actually say it's probably more than that. In other words, I wouldn't be surprised if it's roughly triple, triple the price by the time you're done. Reload. No. Okay. Now, are you referring? Oh, okay. So you're talking. Thank you, Peter. You're talking about Hanoi, and you're talking about banh mi sandwiches. Is that right? I trust so. Yeah. Yep. But a lot of folks tend to go with the first, simplest, and/or most obvious option, which is to say, I want to go to Hanoi and live in the expat neighborhood, along with other expats in the places that have plenty of ATMs and take credit card. Blah 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 blah. Fair enough. And yep, that's exactly what you're going to run across. Oh, by the way, mixing beer and soda, you make a shandy. Super awesome when it's 150 degrees here. But okay, great. Now, this is one of these hidden costs here. This is a hidden cost that most folks don't acknowledge. Okay. Okay. Transportation costs. The reason I say that this is a hidden one is because if you look at it superficially, cost of a motorbike, for example, are going to cost about the same. Cost of fuel is going to be about the same. Taxis is going to be about the same on a per kilometer basis. Okay. Renting for a day costs about the same. Helmets cost about the same. Yeah. Okay, so it's easy to conclude that your transportation costs between Hanoi and Hue, let's just say, are going to be the same. But that's not true. Here's why. First, distance. Let's face it. You've just got to plane drive farther, when you're in Hanoi. For example, a lot of my friends who are working up there easily have a 30-minute commute from their house to where they work one way, and maybe 30 minutes back, let's just say. All right, so you're on the road for an hour. Well, in Hue City, I'm only on you to do that. It's unreasonable that you'd have to go further than 15 minutes, generally speaking. So, yeah, and it gets more extreme in both directions. Sometimes it only takes 5 minutes, sometimes whatever. Generally speaking, no matter what you're trying to do, whether you're meeting friends, go downtown, see this district, go to work, or whatever the case is, you're going to be driving somewhere between 2 to 5 times further on a daily regular basis than if you were in Hue City. Okay? For example, I went around in Hanoi, and I'll write this. Okay, I went around to visit friends in Hanoi by taxi. Yep, it was, I spent a goddamn million dong on taxis. Again, they cost the same on a per kilometer basis, but you got to drive a lot further. And yes, there was a couple of them rides that were 45 minutes to an hour. Now, if I were to do a similar trip with inside of Hue City, first of all, I could have walked between a handful of them. Second of all, it never would have taken more than 10 minutes in between spots. And that same day of horsing around would have probably been 200 grand tops. So I could arguably say to run around town costs 5 times more in Hanoi due to its geography. So again, there's a lot of hidden things like this. Finally, in Hue City, I can ride around on my bicycle, no trouble at all, and/or I can walk locally. So a lot of my local friends here, I can just walk to their house, like Peter's house. I could walk there. Downtown, I can bicycle there, even on a hot day, no trouble at all. Whereas if I was in Hanoi, to bike, let's say 15K through dense traffic would be totally unreasonable. To wit, I'm able to justify having a bicycle here and or walking on foot here, no trouble. Thus, my petrol cost is zero. And overall cost of ownership is pretty much zero, and transportation is pretty much zero. That would not be true if I were in a larger city. Simple as that. So, a lot of folks forget about this fact and don't calculate in this fact when they're talking about overall transportation cost. Especially those folks who are like, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable on a motorbike, so I need to go to a big city that has a better public transportation system of some kind, and then I'll be better. And I see this all over Reddit where they're like, oh, I don't want to go to a small town because there's no way to get around. Oh my God, I need a place that has a bus system and an MRT and a subway. Blah, blah, blah. All right. That's the spirit there, Nicholas. Yeah. Once we get here, it goes those super long ways. Yep, pedaling around, it's no trouble at all. It does take some getting used to. I got one lined up for Peter there, meaning a bamboo bike and whatnot. And yeah, you can get around just as fast as on a motorbike. Sure can. And the net effect is I find myself on my bicycle, in some cases, an hour a day if I'm running all the way around town. Hey, free exercise. That'll work. Now, also, cost of ownership and stuff like that. Look, I just had my wheel bearing replaced on my, or the pedal bearing or whatever, replaced on my bicycle. $100,000. So what is that? $4.50. Bang, bang. With that said, if I were to do a wheel bearing on a car in America, it'd be a few hundred. Wheel bearing on a motorbike wouldn't be awful, but $300,000 would be maybe 200, something like that. It'd be up there. Point being, to repair a bicycle is damn near negligibly free. It really is. Cost of one beer in America, your bike's all fixed up. Something along them lines. So, yeah, having a bicycle makes a huge difference in terms of cost. I did point this out in one of the articles that I wrote on my website, and I'm going to go ahead and list this right now if I can find it. All right, I'm pulling it up now. This will just take me a moment. I actually compared cost of living in a handful of different ways. Almost there. But yes, one thing I did point out is by the time you're done by owning your own motorbike, let's just say, not talking bicycles, by the time you're done, your overall cost, generally speaking, is pretty darn low. Even with fuel, you're probably talking, here we go. Even with fuel, you're still probably talking, gosh darn, under $50 a month for sure. In the States, I was spending $50 a day. There we go. But yeah, if you'd like, here's one article I put together that compares cost of America to here. And yes, I did cover some things, including like the cost of transportation and that kind of an ordeal. One fun fact I pointed out is the cheapest possible MTA metro subway ticket you can get on the most robust public transport city, New York, factoring in the maximum possible discount, disabled elderly veteran, is $60 a month, which is $720 a year. Is the cheapest public transportation setup and system in America that you could possibly get is $720 per year. Whereas again, in Vietnam, you can get by under $300 a year depending on how much you drive. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. So yes, I do underscore the advantages of living in Hue City here ahead of Hanoi and Saigon. They're great cities, and Da Nang is a fantastic city. I'm not taking anything away from it. Just acknowledge there's a hidden cost difference. And yes, I would say that having an exact same lifestyle from Da Nang to Hue, it's going to be at least 30% cheaper, at least, here in Hue City. Once again, apples to apples, depending on how you want to really sit around and compare it. Okay, next. Okay. Oh, $1,000, Peter? Oh, brand new. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it never occurred to me to buy a brand new one. So yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're after. I mean, I would just say get a used one, but that's me. Hmm. Okay. Moving forward. Okay, with currencies. And really quick, okay. Yes, they do have cryptocurrencies here in Vietnam. Well, hey, yeah, you do you though. You do whatever. If you like it, you like it. Yeah. um, actually, to say one more thing about it too. If we, okay, let's go here. Okay. Here is the big one. This is the big. This is the big one. Okay, this is really the point of the whole video I want to make for you guys right here. Here's the big, huge point. What compared to what? Okay, what compared to what? Now, Peter and I were chatting with a nice gentleman. His name is Robert, who's a very smart guy, very successful in life and so forth. Now, what compared to what? Every time we looked at a price, what a human needs to do is be able to compare something to something. Okay? For example, if I say, hey, here is 10 trillion Zimbabwe dollars, that's just a number and a figment of your imagination. It's an imaginary thing. It doesn't have any real meaning to a person's mind until they're able to compare it to something. For example, if I told you, well, there was another guy that had a $10 trillion bill who sold it for $1,000 on eBay. Oh, well, I guess it's worth $1,000. You know, oh, and a motorcycle's $1,000. Ha! Hence, you know, $10 trillion in Zimbabwe equals one motorcycle. Okay, that is a reasonable justification. Now, the problem that people run into when they come into Vietnam is the currencies are just your mind's not used to it. Okay, for example, what does 5 million mean? Right? What does 700 grand mean? You know, you're like your mind cannot fathom this number because you're not used to tossing around these numbers very often, and you're not used to seeing that on a price tag. Certainly, if I were to ask you, Christopher, I mean, bless your heart, you're a smart guy, but just not being here, what is the cost of a new mini fridge? You know, where do you begin? You would have to think about how much does a mini fridge cost in America. Okay. And then maybe you hop on to some kind of currency exchange thing, and then you take a stab at a number. Sure. But you don't really know because you don't know what it's supposed to cost and that kind of thing. For example, a lot of people are also surprised how much does a case of beer cost here? They have no idea. No idea what it costs because what compared to what? Well, compared to my home country, it should be ... Right. So I bring this up because everybody, including me, fall into this nasty little trap of, oh, for example, here's a beer and it's 30,000 for a beer. Well, what does that mean in dollars? Well, that's about €1. Well, in my hometown, a beer costs €5. Oh, so actually, this is 1/5 the price? Yeah. Let me buy beers to everybody here. That's a natural way of thinking about it because what compared to what, and your data points, you only have these few data points to work with, okay? You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but you're not totally right either. Because what you're doing is you're comparing your cost in dong to your home currency to the cost of the same good in your home country, and then thus justifying it how cheap it is, and then not caring about money and spending your ass off. Okay? Yes, there's a lot of people, a lot of expats that move here that constantly constantly compare the cost in Vietnamese dong to their home currency to the cost of the same good in their home country and think, oh my God, this is so cheap. And they end up spending the equivalent of $3,000 a month here in Vietnam, which in their own mind, compared to, well, I can make about 5,000 at home and I spend about 5 or 6,000 at home. So this is actually still pretty cheap. So I don't care. Right. Okay, I'm going to write this down right now, and I want you all to remember this. Okay, it's an obvious fact. A fool and his money is soon separated. Yep, fool and his money are soon separated. Never forget that. Now, and I would consider somebody who constantly compares Vietnamese costs and Vietnamese dong to their home currency, to their home whatever, as a fool, because that's not reasonable. And in other words, everywhere you go is going to seem cheap. So all of a sudden, a person who thinks that way all the time is not going to be careful with their money. Okay? So, in other words, let's look at it a different way. When I get a beer for 30,000, I think, that's ridiculous. Okay? This is how I think about it. Dude. Okay, this is how I think about it. 3 beers is $90,000. No way! I would never spend that. Oh my God! Because in my home neighborhood, 10 is 85. So why would I sit here and only have 3 beers in an hour and then go home when I could actually go to my hometown bar and buy one for everybody in the bar for less? What compared to what? Right? The cost of a beer in America is completely irrelevant to me because we're not in America, nor am I ever going there, nor am I saving my money in order to fly to America, in order to buy one, in order to fly back, right? What compared to what? So I bring this up because everybody has to go through this mental adjustment once they come here to Vietnam. And Nicholas, I'm talking to you, buddy. You know, you're a very smart guy, I'm sure, but this is going to mess with your head because the numbers are so weird. They're both so high, but by the time you're done with the conversion is so low, it's like monopoly money. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real. And again, the worst part is you're not very careful when it doesn't feel real. Yes, there's a lot of people who go to an ATM here in downtown Hue and they'll withdraw, let's say 5 million dong, and they'll get it and they have no idea what 500,000 really means. All they know is they got 6 of them. How long will this last? I don't know. Let's find out. Yes, a lot of people will blast through 3 million dong in one night, just not giving a damn because everywhere they go, they're like, oh, it's cheaper than home, cheaper than home, cheaper than home, cheaper than home. Broke the next day. Well, I'll just go to the ATM again. Blah, blah, blah. Fool. They're a fool. 500 grand? Shit, I could live on that for a week. Yeah. 3 million? That's my month, boys and girls. That's my month. Right. So here is the solution that I found that works extraordinarily well. Okay. Okay. It works like this. Choose Vietnamese price points. Here's some examples. I can get a head massage and a facial massage for 20,000 dong. So that means whenever 100 grand hits the table, I don't think about what is that in dollars? What can I buy in America? Oh, well, that's only $4.50. Oh, well, that's less than the cost of a cheeseburger. Oh, okay, yeah, who gives a shit? Blah. No, I don't think that way at all. I think, it's 40 minutes of a head and facial massage. So basically, that's 10 head and face massages. Ooh, give me that 100 back. I can buy some shit with that, Or I'll think, That's 12 beers, let's just say, you know? Oh, well, now that 100 grand means something because I've got something physical that I could compare it to. Head massages or um, number of beers, number of bowls of soup, or I could rent a motorbike for a day for this much. I could stay at a hostel for a day with full air conditioning, plus free breakfast and a free beer for this much money. Okay, all right. Now I have something real that my mind can understand. Okay. So when we do this kind of thing with every dollar amount that I run across, and every time I see money, I always think what it can buy, because that's the point. What can it buy? And yeah, for example, when I hear $10 million, I'm like, 2 months rent. I could buy 3 motorcycles for that. Easy. $10 million, 3 motorcycles is 2 months rent. Is I don't know how many cases of beer. I guess I don't think in that way. But I took a honeymoon vacation with my wife down to from here down to an exotic fun island, which was super fun. But by the time we were done with that, I'm trying to do the math. That was under 10 million, as far as I recall. I'm just want to make sure I'm honest. Oh yeah, the whole works was like 6 million. So now I can think like, wait a second, a 4-day vacation from here, transportation was $1 million, food was $1 million, spending money was $1 million, and hotels was $1 million. For 4 million dong, I can actually go on a 5-day vacation with my wife and I out to an exotic island, snorkeling, seafood, lobster, the whole thing. That means something now. So all of a sudden, when I hear 5 million, it's not just a number, it's a very real experience. You know what I'm saying? So the idea is connecting a dollar amount to a very real and tangible experience, and something real and tangible that you can see and do here. Again, once you first get here to Vietnam, you don't have that ability to kind of think in that way, comparing what you buy here to what you buy here. As a result, again, people tend to think about, what can I buy at home versus what can I buy here? Okay, so so the value of money changes a lot. As a result, again, for me, it stings. When I go downtown, it stings. When they want 28,000 for a beer, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have one and then water it down or some damn thing, you know. So this is critical. It sounds like I'm going too far on this, and I just keep pounding and pounding and pounding. But in the long run, this is the difference of thousands of dollars throughout your first year. Thousands of dollars that is either in your bank account, in your possession, or not in your possession, simply because of mentality and how you compare and what you compare to, really. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep hitting on this over and over and over everywhere you go. So yeah. Yeah, there you go, Nicholas. And so if you think about like, okay, let's just say you've got $1,000 a month, to work with. That's a good number. Now, in Hanoi, you're gonna be tight. You're just gonna be tight. You're not gonna have as much freedom, as you might think. But yeah, you're gonna have quite a bit here in Hue City, depending on how you go about it. If you only want like, cocktails of some kind, and that run like 90 grand a pop, and you're probably gonna have 3 of them in the course of an afternoon. You're talking roughly what, 270 to 300,000, that you can bang out in an hour. That's just money not in your possession anymore. Because of which, if you instead think of one cocktail equaling 10 beers, 10 of these big bastards, and you realize that 10 is plenty for the day, generally speaking, you stop buying cocktails, don't you? Now, another way of thinking about this same thing. Now, I brought this up to Conan a ways back. Okay. Um, okay. Thinking about things not in terms of what you can buy, not comparing goods to goods or, cost of living here to cost in America, but instead thinking about it in numbers of hours or days that you need to work. Okay. Whether or not you're working or whatever, bear with me. Okay. Example. Let's just say, for comparison's sake, that you make $100 a day doing whatever it is that you do. Okay, working online, teaching, instructing, whatever. Let's just say for the hell of it. Okay, now if you're traveling the world and it costs $3,000 a month, let's just say, well, do the math. You've got to work 30 days a month. That means you effectively have no breaks. Really? So that's pretty rough. That means you're basically here to be a slave again. Okay, yeah, good call there, Nicholas. So goal is to spend $1,000 a month and save around 40 grand. Sure, sure, sure. That'd be a pretty good number. You got plenty to work with, at that point. You may or may not. You do you, man. The more the better, I guess. Meaning the more savings, the better. And yes, getting under 1,000, if you follow my guidance, easy. If you try to do it completely on your own, it's going to be tough. It's not a question of intelligence. Now, again, to focus on this hours work thing, let's just say your cost of living is $800 a month, which, again, for my wife and I both, is less than 800. And I'm not exaggerating. Well, if you're making $100 a day, that means I only have to work 8 days out of a month. So now I only have to work 2 days a week, and I have 5 days off. So if we just think like 3 grand a month, 800 a month, and we just think about them as just numbers, the human mind can't understand the difference between those numbers, really. They're just numbers on a piece of paper. You're like, But if you connect it to something it's meaningful, such as, I only got to work 2 days a week and then 5 days to fuck off and go to the beach and then go downtown and go and party and do my, see different people or go watch a movie or ride around on a bicycle or go vacation to an island or whatever the hell you want to do. Sweet. A human mind can understand that. You mean the difference between 0 vacation and 5 days off a week? That's substantial. That's substantial. So yes, thinking about things in terms of what you hours worked is a very reasonable way of thinking about it. And again, more importantly, will help you get your spending level down. Okay, and because there's a lot of my friends in Hanoi who do, on the surface, make more money per hour than I do. Okay, so here's a perfect example. Okay, of this odd, what do you call it? Ironic twist. Bear with me. Okay, I got a buddy of mine who was telling me one day he makes $50 an hour for teaching this group, a group of folks, group of working professionals. Cool. Well, looking at that on the surface, that's pretty damn sweet. I don't make anything close to that. No way. Generally speaking. Buying and selling a motorbike. Yeah, I do. But anyway, now let's put it in full perspective here. First, he's got to do an hour of prep. So it's an hour of teaching. Great. An hour of prep. Cool. And then it's 45 minutes one way to travel there from, okay? So that's another hour and a half in transportation time. And let's face it, in the course of 3.5 hours, you're probably going to eat something, which is going to be, reasonably speaking, 50 grand or whatever. And the fuel is not 0. It's not high, but let's say 20 grand, or whatever. So really, what are we talking about here? You are busy and you're not free time for 3.5 hours. Now it feels a little different. It's not exactly $50 an hour anymore, is it? It's actually more like 12 by the time you're done. So on the surface, it sounds awesome. But by the time you're done, you're back to where you started about, again, roughly 12 an hour, something like that. Maybe 14 an hour, something like that. Minus, again, cost of gas, wear and tear on the motorbike, and probably a meal along the way and that kind of thing. Great. So he's still doing okay. I mean, 15, 14 bucks an hour, let's just throw out there. It's not shabby. It's not shabby at all. But let's also remember, it costs about twice as much to live in Hanoi as it does here. So that's the equivalent of earning about $7 an hour in Hue City by the time you're done in terms of purchasing power parity. Sounds great on the surface, but once you think a little bit deeper about the reality of it all, it actually, for me to just hop on my computer with zero commute time, zero prep, zero anything. Oh, food already made at home, waiting in the fridge for me by my lovely wife, paying nothing and putting forth effectively no effort. Me working for just 2 hours on my computer, I just made effectively about $30. Sounds less on the surface, but in reality, I made way more, way more. So this is one thing to really watch out for. Again, a lot of folks chase going to Hanoi and Saigon because the wages are indeed higher in either of those places. But again, I would argue that that's an illusion. That's an illusion. It's on the surface, yes. By the time you're done, no. To get by for a husband and wife in Saigon or Hanoi for $800 a month would be artificially Spartan. Could it be done? Probably. Definitely, it could be done. But it'd be way Spartan. I wouldn't be like going out drinking every day. I wouldn't be out like doing what I do. I wouldn't be taking nearly as many days off. Yeah, there'd be a heck of a lot more considerations, along the way. So cool. Well, anyway, what compared to what thing? This is a really important idea. Now, I did want to point this out too. Cost of living. Okay, I'm going to write this to be very clear. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Great question there, Nicholas. I'll get into that. Okay, cool. How much startup money do you need once you get to Hue, like deposits, etc.? Great question. Great question. Hey, obviously, initially I could say it depends, on a lot, right? But okay, the first simple one, bank account to open one, I don't know, it's trivial, like $5. If you got $5, or whatever, it's a trivial amount of money to start a bank account. Now, with regards to, you're probably talking about big deposit kind of stuff. So let's talk about, let's go there. Cost of living once you get the ball rolling in, let's say in Hue City, because that's what I have the most experience with, but this is relevant in a lot of places. Hey, Rusty, I have to go back to work, but this is super insightful. Hope you have it up for me to watch later. I certainly will, Rusty. Yeah, so you can check it all out from here, and also I'll have the timings, which is to say each subject, I'll have the timings in the description of the video. That means you're going to be able to jump to any particular part that you would like. So yeah, of course, buddy. No problem. Thanks for watching. All right, so what do you need to get started? Well, and I would invite any of y'all to get Peter included, or Rose included, whoever. Give me your ideas and your numbers too. Now, it could be zero, okay? Let's start there. It could be zero. Here's how the startup cost could be zero. Again, if you don't start a bank account, let's just say, and you showed up with a bunch of cash, you could go to a homestay. Specifically, there's one in town. It's about 6 or 7 million a month. So whatever that works out to be, $280, let's just say a month, with no deposits, no contract, no upfront commitment, long-term commitment of any kind. If you want to stay there 2 weeks, it costs half that. Swish. Stay there for 2 months, swish. And in that case, you don't have to buy any furniture or dishes or fans or AC units or anything like that. You just show up and here's my month, done. Hell, I think they might even let you pay afterwards for that matter. So that's pretty sweet if you can. Now, in the meantime, transportation. Well, you got to have, could you rent? Yes. So could your upfront transportation be zero? Yep. And if you walk everywhere and or take motorbike taxis and or rent a bike effectively, yeah, it could be zero. It really could, which is sweet. And food, you don't really have to buy anything up front. So again, to be very clear, your upfront deposit-y kind of costs can be zero. I want to be very clear like that. Now, to be more realistic in a little more average way of living, let's just say, buying a motorbike. Okay. On the low end, you're going to be talking about 2 million. So let's just say $100. You could have a motorbike for $100. Yep. And you can also have a respectable bicycle for $100, or again, about 2 million-ish, 2.5 million-ish. Then you got wheels. Then it's just, minor repairs and gas and that kind of stuff. Thank you, by the way, Rusty. Hey, thank you, Rose. Okay, excellent. 3.9 million for the month. That's not shitty. Okay. See, Rose has got, that is way less than average in Da Nang. Way less. There's a lot of people dropping like 8 million a month on an apartment. Okay. So yeah. 3.9 million is excellent. If I was a single person traveling, I would laugh. I'd be laughing, at 3.9 million. Oh, and again, I imagine that, you probably didn't have to buy much in the way of furniture at that point. For example, you didn't have to buy a bed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, okay. So yeah, transportation, definitely going to want to figure on minimum $100, to get that off the ground. And yeah, again, get a good bicycle. I keep saying it. A bike is, now you could spend as much as, well, sky's the limit. You could spend 20 million on a brand new bike if you want to. I think that's a shit plan. Totally think it's a shit plan in every measurement, but that's just me. No, other than that, okay. When you're renting a house, for example, the house that I'm living in right now, okay, the startup cost is definitely not zero. So this would be a very realistic, way of looking at it. Now, and let's bear in mind that I'm not here for just a year. I'm here for life. So I look at things in a different way. In my case, yes, to rent my first place, first of all, housing deposit. A lot of places in Vietnam require 6 months up front. So, for example, this house right here is 5 million a month. Cool. Times 6, 30 million. That means the first day that I showed up to effectively a pretty much empty house, like a lot of lights, bulbs didn't even work. No furniture of any kind, no bed, nothing. Bare ass floors, no furniture, nothing. I had to show up the first day, sign the contract with 30 million in cash, clang, right there. And then, yes, 6 months later, another 30 million, clang. And then we're good to go. I like paying stuff up front, so that's cool with me. Now, along the way, we did have to have furniture and stuff like that. And that does get up there. Like we got a bed, for example, custom made with 4 drawers underneath it. Hey, we're going to have this bed for the next perpetuity, potentially 20 years. So let's get a good goddamn bed, had to buy a fridge, had to get office furniture, light bulbs. I replaced every single light bulb in my entire house across the board. I replaced half my light switches, ran LEDs everywhere. Yeah, we got to get dishes. You got to have like a electric stove and, crap like that. So yeah, by the time we're done, we're talking, oh, Lord have mercy. Just to throw a number out there. I mean, $1,000 American is about right. In other words, to fully furnish a house for $1,000, you'd be pretty close. It obviously depends, whatever. We're married. We have a few extra things. We double down on a few, but figure on about $1,000 to fully furnish a place. Obviously, at this point, now we can rent any place we want, furnished or not. In fact, we prefer unfurnished from now into perpetuity. Similarly, when we buy a house, it's going to be, by definition, unfurnished. Okay, but we're set for all that, from here on out. Now, Peter and Ye, I am shocked at the price they got. $6 million for fully furnished. Yeah. If I were a guy, let's say like yourself, Nicholas. Yeah, I would try to find a place like Peter found there, fully furnished, ready to go. You don't got to drop that initial $1,000 to get it furnished. No, you might need the first 6 months ish, but toss that down and they hand you the keys. You're good to go, and so yeah, it's pretty slick overall. In terms of other long-term, large-scale deposits, I mean, it sounds weird to say this, but clothing, really, because the clothes that you typically have in America are different. Okay, and you said, Rose, no shit. If you stay out of the expat areas, you can find some gems. I'm moving to a house share, 10 minutes drive from the expat area, fully furnished for less than half what I'd pay if I was there. Ah, okay. Yes, living the expat area versus not. I've repeated that so many damn times that it's getting ad nauseum. But yeah, definitely a fact. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not close. Anyway, okay, clothing. Now, and I especially am talking to any of y'all out there who are, as they say, with a big and tall store, high, wide, and handsome. I'm just going to be real with you. Finding shoes is not easy. Finding clothes is not easy. What they normally sell at the market, they're just going to look at you in a lot of cases. And if any of y'all have experience in this, let me know. In a lot of cases, you walk into stores in Vietnam, they look at you. No. Feel free to look around, bro. I'm just telling you, we don't have it. On the other end of the gamut, my wife walks in and she's so small. Okay. Yep. Okay. Right. So thank you, Peter. Yeah, because again, you're, a power lifter and a strongman competitor and this and that. There aren't many of those folks here, and so yeah. Yes, you are going to have to get clothes and shoes custom made, which again, from an American perspective, sounds outrageously expensive. But actually, in many cases, believe it or not, if we were to compare to America anyway, you can get a shirt and pants made for cheaper than what you would buy them at Walmart. God honest truth. And by the way, if yeah. Size loans in. All right. And Nicholas, in your case, if I recall, you mentioned maybe you're a similar build to Peter there. Count on the fact that you're probably going to drop, like, let's say $300 on clothes and shoes. Really, it's a very real number. It's not zero. Okay. Obviously, you want to bring all the clothes you can from back home, and if you're good with that, you're good with that. But the quality of fabric, the style, the warm clothes versus hot clothes or warm cold clothes, whatever, it is going to differ, and that kind of thing. It's very cheap to get custom made clothes, and very awesome, by the way. You can get whatever color, style, fabric, whatever you want. It's pretty awesome, but it doesn't cost zero. So yeah, whatever. By the way, if Peter, yeah. I mean, mhm. When you say need trailer, do you mean to say trousers by chance there, Nicholas? Who knows? But still. Oh, and by the way, Nicholas, I did want to point out, my friend, most people who come to Vietnam lose a lot of weight. As far as I know, Peter, you lost a lot of weight, according to Nye. But also, my friend Long Dong, Travis, oh my gosh, he lost like 50 pounds, his first 6 months without trying too hard. By switching to healthy food and let alone walking and moving around and walking and biking and avoiding the sugar and fast food and snacks and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really amazing, how quickly one can lose quite a bit of weight. So it is true that Long Dong, for example, his height didn't change, but his size changed. He had to get custom made clothes on a few different occasions. In other words, 6 months into his trip, he had to get brand new pants because his other pants didn't fit anymore. Well, they're too big, is another way of saying the same thing. And by the way, Peter, if you had any quotes on prices for getting custom-made clothes for you, okay. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. See? Yeah. So, this is terrific. I mean, in a lot of regards, this is a very healthy lifestyle out here. And and you could take a wonderful gal like Rose, who teaches yoga out here as an example. Maybe you'll get into that. Maybe you'll get into again, going on long walks and city walking tours, and maybe there's all kinds of possible things. But again, Peter, if you had any quotes on clothes, I'd appreciate it. But you do you, if you can. So, okay, yeah, overall cost is very reasonable, once we're, as we get things started out here, which is terrific. Let's see, some other costs and habits. Okay, when it comes to, your choice of food, that's going to change quite radically, and which is commensurate. Oh, whoa! $200K for a custom-made shirt? Oh my God! I did not know it was that cheap. Whoa! Okay, yeah. Oh, 300K for. There you go, Nicholas. There you go, buddy. Yeah, it's. I told you, it's cheaper than Walmart. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, might as well. Like, even funny things like getting curtains cut for our house. Like, we went to a curtain cutting shop, and I'm like, my American mind is like, I don't want to get custom made clothes. Or I don't want to get custom made curtains. I just want curtains, right? But custom made curtains cost the same as buying curtains, but when you try to buy them, they're not going to be the exact size. Blah blah blah. So actually, fully tailored suit. I might argue in your. Yeah, I might argue the 1 million thing a little bit, but it might, to get it done properly in my own direct experience, it's a little closer to 4, but that depends on where you go. But anyway, moving forward a little bit, I was going to say that the other good things, cost, habits. Okay. Yeah, your habits do have to change. That's a big bottom line. There's a lot of folks who are just like, oh, I have a certain way of life. For example, I've always got to have an omelet in the morning, and then I have to have this for lunch, and then this for dinner. I got to have my steak. I got to have my, cheese snacks at night or whatever. And okay, yep, and thank you, Peter. Is it possible to get one made for $1 million? I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, actually. You could probably pull it off. I haven't seen it personally, but this is a good example of why we have a group like this. So yeah, Nicholas, you or me or anybody can ask Peter, and get her done. You can certainly get a pair of shoes made for under $1 million, as far as I know. I spend about $400K, something like that. But anyway, yeah, your habits have got to change though in order to be able to save money properly. If the closer one clings to their hometown habits, the closer or the less their life changes as they come here to Vietnam. The more open you are to new ways of life, etc., the better. Now, okay. Okay. Cheers. Sounds weird, but the more Vietnamese that you get, the cheaper it's going to get, period. A good example of that is whenever I'm looking at getting coffee, if the chairs are like, if they're, and you guys might confirm this, if the chairs are knee height or higher, you're overpaying. If the chairs are knee height and higher and made of wood, you're probably overpaying. And if the menu is in English, you're probably overpaying. If you look left and you look right, and you see any white people there, you're probably overpaying. If the chairs have cushions, the list goes on. If the waiter or waitress is well dressed and super beautiful, that's normal actually. Point being, if it's on the street, with concrete underneath you, and it's a plastic Barbie chair, now you're talking. So yeah, lower the chair, the better. Yeah, yep. It's a weird thing to look for, but it's true. And yes, it seems weird, especially for American, especially if you're a bigger guy, to consider a plastic ass Barbie chair. But it's a thing. It definitely works. And this is definitely true. And I bring this up because what we really have to do is think about something as simple as a cup of coffee. Okay. And let's just for fun, I'm just going to point this out. How many cups of coffee will you drink in a year? Okay. Let's just say for fun, 1,000 cups a year. Okay. Whatever, 2 to 3 a day, something like that. Bunk. No, it's five grand for a cup of coffee in a small chairs place. Okay, so you can do the math on this pretty quick. 5,000. So what does that work out to be? Oh yeah, free iced tea. Don't be afraid of that. Yeah. So yeah, if we look at it this way, we could say it's about 5 million Vietnamese dong per year for coffee if you go to a small chairs place. Okay. Now, that's a far cry from 25K for a cup. Similarly, you can do the math. That's 25 million dong. Okay. And so to kind of put things in proper perspective, I'm going to keep myself honest here. So that means I'm looking up the price. So basically, you're looking at Right. So, what compared to what? Well, truth is, in your mind, you might think, oh, well, it's just 25 grand. Oh, man, well, that's That's about $1. Well, that's less than a quid, for a cup of for a cup of coffee. That's certainly cheaper than London. Oh my God, let's buy it. Yeah, whatever. Or you might think in your mind, oh, 5 grand versus 25 grand. It's only a difference of 20. Who cares? It's less than $1 difference. Who cares? On the surface. But when you look at it in a realistic, normal perspective, $200 a year versus 1,000 a year. I mean, what? If you're bringing 10 grand here, that's 10% of your income. And to be fair, when you subtract these two numbers, you're effectively talking about $800 that you pissed into the wind. Okay? This is $800 that is no longer yours, that you no longer have access to and can no longer spend. $800 is gone and wasted. Wasted. You didn't need to spend it, but you did because you didn't look past your damn hand. You only looked like 2 feet into the future, right? Or 1 meter into the future. Okay? But when you look into the long run of this all, that's a huge number. That's huge. So it's very valuable to think about prices in general, whether you're talking food, rent, transportation, gas costs, whatever, right? Coffee, cup of a beer, or whatever. It's very, very relevant when you multiply anything by 1,000. Okay. In the case of beer, yeah, it's actually. I drink more than 1,000 a year for sure. I'm probably like 3,000 a year. I don't know, but yeah, any number you multiply by 1,000 becomes a big ass number. So bear this in mind. There's a reason why I emphasize to folks: go to the small chairs joints, go to the local joints, eat Vietnamese food for breakfast. Because again, a $5 breakfast tastes good and all. Don't get me wrong. Go for it. You're going to enjoy every bite of it. You got your toast, you got your omelet, yeah, fine. You got your bacon, whatever the hell. That's fine. You do you, man. Multiply it by 1,000. Well, 300, whatever the case is. And you're going to see the true cost of that breakfast. I keep hitting on this, but it's super relevant. Super relevant. Okay. No, and feel free, you guys, Rose and Peter are living here, so you feel free to tell me what you think. Forgive me, I don't mean to be rude, but got to do it. Anyway, but yeah, this is the price points that I have seen. This is what I work with on a daily basis, and so forth. Multiply it by 300. So all of a sudden, that's Oh, Peter, thank you. Actually, banh mi opla means omelet. So yeah, to have it's like if I were to use American wording, I would say like it's a skillet, like a hot skillet, like you have at Denny's where they cook the whole bowl and plate thing with it. They put all the stuff on the plate and then yeah. Yeah. 7K band. Oh yeah. And that's pretty simple, but that'll get you by for a quick bite, no doubt about it. So omelet and then bread that you dip in, and you usually get some meat with it, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Now you may. Okay, right. But still, these folks that are opting for an American or English breakfast, ding, 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 it adds up. It mysteriously, quietly in the background, it'll add up. Real fast. Mm-hmm. So, if you figure on 3 years, you're talking about the difference of 80 million. Like multiplied by 1,000 is what I meant to say. Yep, you're talking about, what would that be? 8 million. So let's say $400, or $350 for a year. for breakfast, or three, whatever. Right. That's the other thing. So the look, you do the math for yourself, okay? Whatever. I can throw numbers out, but I'm just trying to say that by changing one's habits and adjusting to more Vietnamese lifestyle, and while we're at it, trust the local guy. Trust the local guy that's actually here, that actually cares. If you ask another expat who speaks zero Vietnamese, who lives in an expat neighborhood, who blah blah blah, has zero Vietnamese friends and lives an expat lifestyle, he's going to give you some shit answers. He's going to assume, oh, you want a good breakfast? Well, this is the top 5 places that are good. Go here, 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 or here. Right. He's not wrong. You're going to enjoy it, but times 1,000, So, to be fair, there's a definite contrast when it comes to traveling here for a week, traveling for a month, versus living here. Okay? So, food and drinks, trust the local guy that actually knows what he's talking about. Now, maybe this would be kind of a last thing. I don't know, but this is, I did want to bring this up. Okay, I'm going to write it and then kind of go from there. Okay, a lot of people bitch about, like, oh, I get ripped off. Oh, don't they know I'm a local? Oh my God, they try to charge me double for this and that, blah, 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 blah. But I'm living here, so I'm different. I'm special. I'm unique. Sure. All of those people that tell me their woe is me story about how they overpaid or got overcharged or whatever, I just respond, well, I'll just argue with them in Vietnamese then, bruh. And they're like, well, I don't speak Vietnamese. Oh, tell me again about how you're such a local. Ha ha! You're, deaf, mute, and illiterate, but you're such a local. I see. Tell me again about how you got overcharged. Yep. Okay, now getting overcharged, this happens in a few different ways. Oh yeah, exactly. If you bring it up and if you argue in Vietnamese, it whoop. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, so this comes up in a few different dimensions and ways. Okay, so let me explain it a little bit. The first obvious, simplest dimension is like you're ordering a banh mi sandwich, and it should be about 10 grand, but they charge you 20. And now you're sitting there wondering what to do. Okay, that's like the simplest one. In that instance, you don't have a ton of ground to stand on. Sure, obviously, if you say 10, whatever, you're fundamentally set in an argument, and they're going to, pressure you and embarrass you or whatever. Oh, it's already made. Well, here you go. It's already here, blah, blah, blah. What to do? Well, in that instance, what I would do is just sit there and wait. In other words, as other people come and order a sandwich, especially Vietnamese people, I'll just stand there. Oh, he got a sandwich, he paid 10. He got a sandwich, he paid 10. He got a sandwich, he paid 10. I pull out 10. Yep. And a lot of times I'll line up paying for it right then. Okay, that's a simple approach, but that works great. Now, in my own case, because I, understand the numbers, when I'm sitting at a soup place, or let's just say an opla place, and let's just say they don't have a menu, I'll actually sit there and watch every person pay for every meal. And then I know the prices because I know the numbers. So he'll say like, muy tam ngin, muy tam ngin, muy tam ngin, muy tam ngin, and I got muy tam ngin, 18 grand. Yep. And I got that handed out, and I don't even ask what the price is. I know what it is. And I can say like, anh ấy đã trả đã 15.000 rồi. Biết mà mọi người đấy đã trả 15.000. So tôi sẽ trả 15.000 vì là món ăn ấy dùng nhau hả? Love you, baby. Done. Okay, so yeah, being slow and watching other people pay first is a good way of going about it. Arguing in Vietnamese is a good way of going about it. Okay, it's we're also worth knowing that this word chem is um, okay. Dung chém tôi. Yep. Don't rip me off, baby. You know. Mm. Now this is the simple version. Now it works in a little different way in different circumstances. Okay. Now I'm just going to use this as another example, the bus ticket thing. Okay. Um, okay, because direct first-hand experience. Now, in this case, getting a bus from Hue City to Lao Bao, which is a border run. Okay. In this case, I talked to the various travel companies in Hue City that offer border runs. Great. Talk to them, and maybe this place offers 500K round trip. Okay. And no matter what I say to them, it's going to be 500K because that's what they charge everybody. It's just standard. They got it written on their paper. They're not ripping me off. If a Vietnamese guy went there, it'd be 500K. Simple as that. I did, in my own case, end up shopping around and spending about an hour. And I found someone who finally gave it to me for 450K. Great. Pat myself on the shoulder. Did it right. So far, so good. Now, and this is not an example of they're ripping me off because I'm white. And it's not an example of something I can talk my way out of. Nor is it an example of something where if I sit there and 10 people order a bus ticket, oh, I'm going to get the best price. Blah. No, that's it. It's 450, 500K, period, for the round trip, period. Cool. But then, and I did it, of course, and it sucked for a few reasons. It was what they advertised, a trip there and a trip back. So far, so good. Okay, enough said. Details aside. However, I went around and I started asking in Vietnamese, Tôi muốn đi Lao Bao, Rang đi Lao Bao. You know, how do I go to Lao Bao? And then people said, oh, well, all you got to do is go to the North bus station, and they have buses leaving every hour on the hour, and it's 90K a bus one way. Well, that's sweet. And by the way, in Vietnamese, like đi bằng xe bắc phải trả 90.000 và một tiếng một chiếc. You know, every hour there's one unit, one vehicle leaving. Easy enough. Exactly what they said. I went up there. Sure as shit. Yeah, it's 90 grand one way. Sure as shit. Yeah, I drove all the way up there to the border and then, did my thing, got back on another bus, or as I was leaving, there's buses coming every hour or actually about every 5 minutes. Hey, we're going away, we're going away, we're going away. And I just have 100 grand in my hand. I'm willing to pay that. And I have 100 grand. And I don't wait for their price. I just say, hey, đi Huế 100.000, đi Huế 100.000. Sometimes they'll be like, đi Huế 100.000. You want my money or not? Inevitably, every time they take my 100 grand, great. Bang, bang. I just made it to Huế and back for less than 200 grand. Now, it's not that I'm getting ripped off by the downtown companies in a direct way. It's just normal people have a complete lack of knowledge with regards to how cheap it could be if you go about it by a different means. So, in a certain way of saying it, you are getting ripped off. And if I just round it up, okay, 200 grand versus 500 grand. Yeah, I just saved 300 grand because I asked one guy one simple sentence in Vietnamese. This is a micro example of how you can save an incredible amount of money by being able to speak the language. and by asking for additional information. Obviously, if I were to ask the tour company selling bus tickets, hey, is there a cheaper way of doing this? Obviously, they're going to be like, no, you got to get one right here, sir. Blah, blah, blah. They're not wrong, but they're not totally right either. The suggestion of going to the bus station and actually getting one myself, they probably wouldn't bring it up, even though they're well familiar with that as an option. So there is a certain effect of people withholding information that would otherwise, be quite valuable, in this regard. So anyway, this is a key example of cost difference. Or what do you say? Cost differences? Yeah, I mean, cost of living. Whether if you know what's going on versus not knowing what's going on, really. And then these examples are everywhere. Now, there's another example of credit card usage and stuff like that. Now, I gotta give me just 1 minute break. But yeah, if any of you guys have another example along those lines, feel free to type it in because I'm sure, Peter and Rose living here, you've got an example or two. Be right back in about 30 seconds. And we're back. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, Rose, you keep smiling, girl. Yeah, we'll see you around. Yeah, we're wrapping up soon anyway. Keep smiling, keep surfing, stay beautiful. You keep being awesome. All right, later. All right. So anyway, yeah, the credit card thing. It's both the English speaking only tax and a credit card tax. There's a lot of folks that come here that get nailed by the ATM withdrawal limit, or they only use credit card back at home. So when they go to Hawaii, go to Florida, go to New York, go to London, go wherever, they use their credit card all the time. That's cool, but it doesn't really work so well here for a variety of reasons. But to put it nice and simple, well, credit cards cost money, cash doesn't. Credit cards are tracked, cash isn't. When I pay for my beer, all in cash, and everybody at the bar all pays in cash, then the beer distributor guy shows up, he can hand it to the guy in cash. It's simple. And then he can keep the difference. His profit for the day is right there in his hand in cash. No one can take it, no banks, no taxes to pay, no horsing around, no checks to write, no fees, nothing. It's ideal. So, in contrast, if I buy a bus ticket, for example, for 500 grand and I pay with a credit card, they'll probably charge me a 2 to 3% fee on top of that. And then the bus company doesn't actually receive the money in their bank account for quite some time, upwards of 30 days. In the meantime, as you depart to go to Laobao, the bus company, hands the bus company or the booking company hands the bus a certain amount of cash. So they've got to have cash up front, even though they haven't received your money yet, that kind of thing, which is fine. But you could see how this is extra steps for normal people. As a result, they're going to take you to the cleaners. Oh, yeah. They'll charge you twice as much, because they are providing, like, again, cash up front on your behalf, guaranteeing it, blah, 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 blah. So, bearing that all in mind, if you were to, here's a fun little homework assignment. Go to Saigon sometime or type into Google sometime, cleaning services in Saigon. Okay, just as an example. And you're going to find a shitload of people that are like $1,000 a month, to come by, but they speak English, have a web page, and take credit card. Oh yeah. And they're on there for a reason, because there's a lot of people that the amount of effort they want to put into this situation is, I just want to go online immediately, book someone right now that I can trust, that has a reputation, and takes credit card immediately, and it's prepaid for the month. Don't care about the details. Boom. Hey, and does it work out for them? Sure does. Yeah, no, they're doing great with it. Are said cleaners trying to rip them off? Not really. They're just providing a service for that type of group or that demographic of people that want that particular thing. So they're not wrong. They're not cruel. They're not bad. But you're overpaying. You're overpaying by a long shot. In reality, it's about $100,000 an hour, which is $4.50 an hour. And typically, folks can clean your whole damn house in 3 hours tops. So you're really talking about $300,000, a week perhaps, times 4. So what are you talking about? $1.5 million. So let's just round it up and say $60 a month if you pay in cash. Multiply that by 12 months. What are you really paying? So we could put this under the umbrella of convenience fee. So it's not a ripoff. It's a convenience fee. All right. So those are very real things. Now, so again, we've got just straight up ripoff, the obvious one. And then we've got convenience fee, kind of stuff. Then there's the lack of knowledge altogether kind of stuff. And then we've got the differences in cities. A lot of people in Hanoi have no idea what the costs are in Hue because they've never experienced it. Okay. So then there's the city geography thing. And then under the umbrella of lack of knowledge thing, when I'm out in the countryside, let me start here. I never used Grab before. That's one of those must-have apps for expats thing. I've never used it ever in years. Here's why. When I want to go out to my buddy's place, way off on the beach, all I do is bring a helmet. Because I promise you this, when I'm like at his house, as an example, if I got a helmet in my hand and I want to hitchhike, stick out a thumb, I have never once in years waited longer than 10 minutes. I've never had more than 10 motorbikes drive by me without one stopping. In other words, I can go from the beach to here for free. I get, hello, hey, you going that way? All right, sweet, let's go. And maybe they're going a slightly different direction. I'll just hop off. Hey, I'm going away. Oh, okay, I'll drop you off here. Great. Blink, blink. Yeah, you can hitchhike. Yeah. So you can hitchhike super easy in this country. Most people don't know that. Or they think like, oh, maybe I'm going to get raped. No, you're not. Or maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe it's whatever. No, it's easy. You just get in the back and get it done. So when you're in a small town, sure, they don't have a bus transportation system of any kind for a reason. They don't need it. Just get on a bike. My motorbike broke down and I ran out of gas at one point. Or didn't break down. I ran out of gas. And I was like, oh man, what dismay. I'm like 5K from the nearest city. Sigh. Blink, blink. Oh yeah, I was there in minutes. Right. So this is an example where it's like, if you know this ahead of time, you can effectively transport yourself through various small towns and areas, and you can get around this country quite reasonably for nothing. Very reasonably. Even at the side of a highway. Just go to a coffee shop and hold your thumb out, and you're good. With the language, it helps tremendously. It really does. Without it, you're stuck at grunting and pointing, and or you write the name of the city. That works, by the way. If you wrote like the city you're headed to and you just hold up a piece of paper and a thumb out, and hold up, and you got a helmet. Oh yeah. It'll only take a minute or two. So this is a whole nother example of knowledge, geography, and so forth. So when people talk about like going to the beach is, let's say, 200K one way and 200K back, these cab drivers are not ripping you off in a direct way. They're not white taxing you, or whatever, but it can be done for less. Okay. So there's countless examples like this of how it can be done for less if you have the right mentality and you know the secrets, you know how Vietnamese people do it, and or you speak Vietnamese and you can ask directly, like, hey, how do you guys do it? What could I do? How else could I go about this or whatever? In this case, yes, I have a lot of Vietnamese friends, so I can just ask them directly, hey, I want to blah, 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 blah. How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And similarly, when I'm want to get stuff done, for example, I'm at my house and I want to go downtown. I don't want to walk, don't want to bike, can't bike, whatever the case is. Actually, what I do is I go walk down the street to about the busiest bar that I can find, or coffee shop that I can find with the most Vietnamese people. Go in, order a drink, make a few friends, and then I just tell them straight up, like, hey, I want to go downtown. I got my helmet. Can somebody bring me downtown? Oh, yeah, I can bring you there. Great, I'll buy you a drink down there. How's that sound? Oh, that sounds awesome. Yep. Yeah, it's happened dozens of times. I get a free ride around town just because I open my mouth, speak Vietnamese, talk to people, and eventually a buddy just brings me there straight up. So anyway, there's a lot of great tips like this. And what I did want to say to you, Nicholas, and or to anybody out there, look, no matter how much research you do online, no matter how smart you are, no matter how good of a negotiator you are, no matter what strategies you take, there's always a cheaper way to do it. And you're always going to be wasting money to some degree. However, what I really want to offer folks is, hey, when you're coming to Vietnam, especially for a month or a year, good question there, Nicholas. Are there a lot of expats in Hue? What do you mean by a lot? More than 100? Oh, hell yeah. I don't know the number, to be honest. All I can do is kind of guess, but I would guess, I don't know, maybe 1,000? I don't know. Maybe 500? I mean, where would you meet them normally, I guess, right? Plus, I see folks walking around. There's no way I can know, do they live here or are they just passing through for a day? I don't know. But a safe number, I would say there's at least 200. At least 200, whether they're retirees, bar goers, teachers, and I've seen all ages. Yes, even old guys. Yep, I've seen old couples out here. I see a lot of 20-somethings. It's all over the road, my friend. It really is. I mean, all over the road in terms of ages and lifestyles and all of that. So, to be more direct, if you were to meet an expat a day, you'd probably never run out, as another way. Yeah, thank you, Peter. Yeah. And wouldn't you agree, Peter? It's hard to know. I mean, all I can say is, like, if there's a expat party of some kind and I go there, there's going to be at least like 50 people easily. That's just the ones that happen to show up at said party on said day, who just happen to be friends with said person. That has nothing to do with the new folks coming in, the old people that don't party, the non-bar goers. So, I mean, so I don't know. But the simple answer is plenty, plenty. But again, what I really offer folks here is if you're coming to Vietnam, stay with me or let's hang for like minimum 2 weeks. Minimum 2 weeks. Let me teach you Vietnamese. The Vietnamese you need to get by, the numbers, the basic questions. Let me show you how to do all the prices things. Let me show you all these little secrets, like bring a helmet and hitchhike. Go to the actual bus station. Here's how you can save a boatload of money in this, and this. Point being, I want to save people money. All right. And if you throw me a pile of cash to basically effectively coach you, for 2 weeks to a month, I will save you whatever amount of money that is tenfold over the course of your trip. That's really what I want to offer, folks. I want to help. I want to save people money. By showing up here and letting me work with you on a daily basis, I will save you tenfold, whatever you put my way. But most importantly, your enjoyment of this country and your enjoyment of your lifestyle here, your mental attitude, the way you look at the world, the way you talk about prices, money, and handle things is going to be in a more Vietnamese kind of way, but better put, you're not pissing money into the wind, this one coffee thing as an example. There's a lot of expats who never knew that it's 5K for a cup if you go to the right spot. They just never knew it because they never tried it. Right. They never knew that you can go to the beach for free. If they never knew that you can save 300K per bus ticket. They never knew. Right. I would love to save folks money. Yeah. I'm not here to take money. I'm here to save. Yeah. And so anyway, we covered a lot here today. Damn, huh? But we got to wrap up kind of soon. But anyway, hopefully this was all helpful. If any of y'all have any additional questions, you can fire them away right now in the next couple minutes. You're also welcome to contact me personally if you would like. I'm more than happy to help. In fact, I'll quickly, once again, drop my contact info here. Here we go. Hey there, Blake. Yeah, I'm delighted to be able to help you, my friend. Yeah, and again, fire away any questions you got. I love helping anybody about anything, giving you the real answers, So anyway, y'all. Thank you, Peter. Great question. Yep. Cheers there, Nicholas. Peter, the short answer is a condo, yes. Land, not it's only leased for land, so that means that nobody can actually technically buy it. But you do have to be a Vietnamese national in order to lease it. Boom. In terms of buying a house, technically no, but you could do so with a power of attorney and or somebody as your executor or proxy. So proxy, executor, power of attorney, kind of all the same idea. You could do so in general, regardless of visa choice. And the deed would technically be in your name as a co-signer, but not 100%. In general, it's kind of risky. In general, you're not gaining much by attempting to do that. But is it possible? Yes. Is it short, simple? Is it a good idea? Highly depends. I would say, yeah. I would say put your money in the stock market in your home country and be done with it. But that's me. Anyway, enjoy your day there, Peter, too. Peter, Blake, thanks again, Rose. Yeah. Nicholas, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. We'll see you around next time. Cheers, guys. Yeah.